Emilia Perez is the worst film I have ever seen. It's mean-spirited, obnoxious, stupid, ignorant, poorly directed, poorly written, and horribly sung. And while you may think that this list is long and probably a little dramatic, I can assure you that this film has zero redeeming qualities. You may also be thinking, really? The worst movie ever?
You're goddamn right.
Emilia Perez makes movies like Twilight and Madam Web, and even In Name of the King, seem like Shakespeare in comparison.
How do you like my krug?
Because even though these movies are bad, you can still sit there and laugh at how stupid they are. You don't have to take it too seriously, and you can just enjoy the bad dialogue and the horrible acting. It's fun in its own way.
My monkey man.
But with Emilia Perez, you're sitting there wishing that your ears had cancer so you could have them surgically removed, so you would never have to hear another one of these god-awful songs again.
Lady, you know I only fix the body, skin, bones, but I will never fix the soul.
They're never gonna stop!
Endless trash!
Let's get into this movie by trying to summarize the god-awful plot. But strap in, this is going to be a long one. So the movie takes place in Mexico. Even though it was filmed in France, with a cast of non-Mexican actors, directed by a French guy who didn't know anything about Mexico. So anyway, the movie begins with Rita, who is a lawyer working as the defense in a murder case. However, despite being a lawyer, she feels unfulfilled and underappreciated because men suck, I guess? This is until Rita is approached by a cartel kingpin who wants to be smuggled out of the country and have sex reassignment surgery, while also faking her death so she can live her new life as Emilia. She also wants her family to be kept in the dark about this plan, and wants Rita to take them to Switzerland to live in hiding from the cartel. In return, Emilia will pay Rita millions of dollars. In the end, Rita agrees to this, and essentially, the plan goes off without a hitch. However, I'm greatly summarizing the plot here because the entire sequence drags at a snail's pace of 40 minutes. By this point, it feels like the movie should be ending, and I wish it had. But I endured this, so you have to as well. The movie then skips ahead 4 years. Emilia and Rita are quickly reunited at a dinner party in London. Emilia now wants to recruit Rita again, this time to take her family back to Mexico so she can be reunited with them. Which is weird since the entire first act of the film set up how Emilia wanted to live a free and new life away from her family. But I guess she's done with that now and wants to go back on almost every decision she's made up until this point. I mean, this is pretty fucked up, right? Emilia has abandoned her family, faked her death, and changed her identity, and simply because she wants to, uproots them from their happy and safe lives in Switzerland, only to transport them back to the one place they would be in danger. Also, that Emilia can pretend to be their distant cousin or something?
Not a great plan.
The entire point of sending her family to Switzerland was quite literally to keep them in hiding away from the cartel, because if they had found out that Emilia had a sex change and faked her death, they would probably kill her and her entire family. Why doesn't she just move to Switzerland to be near her children? Why not come clean about the operation and the new identity? Sure, it would be an awkward conversation, but hey, it's better than risking the lives of your children, right? I guess the idea is not to think about it and move on so the movie can happen. Now back in Mexico, the rest of the film mostly involves Emilia trying to make up for her past deeds as a drug lord. She begins a movement and a charity to fight the corruption in Mexico. All of this is juggled with her home life as Emilia grapples with abandoning her family and living this double life, pretending to be their aunt. There is also this growing tension between Emilia and her ex-wife, played by Selena Gomez, as Emilia becomes more controlling over the lives of her family. The finale of the movie culminates with Selena Gomez breaking down due to Emilia's manipulations. This forces Selena to kidnap Emilia and hold her for ransom. Rita comes to save Emilia, which results in a big shootout where Selena Gomez, her boyfriend, and Emilia die in a car crash, leaving Rita to take care of their children. Emilia is then made into a saint by the people of Mexico, and the movie ends. Now, it wouldn't be weird if it felt like I was talking about 3 different movies here. The narrative is filled with pointless plot lines. Many characters and themes are never addressed again after being established, much of which I didn't even cover in this summary. I mean, there's this whole side plot with Emilia and her new lover that lasts about 2 seconds before she dies. The charity and the cleaning up of Mexico's corruption is also never resolved. And while the film largely revolves around Mexican cartels, we actually never see them be of any danger to the main cast. Despite constantly referring to the cartel as this terrible threat to both the characters and the people of Mexico, we never actually see any consequences of this. They never attack Emilia or Rita for starting the charity. They never try to find out what happened to Emilia after she faked her death. And they also never come after her family. There isn't even the main cartel boss that plays as the film's antagonist. In fact, the only character that represents them as a faction is Emilia herself. This is just one point, but it speaks to a much greater problem in the story. Things just happen, and most of the time the actions of the characters have little bearing or consequence on the story. Emilia can betray the cartel, fake her death, change her identity, and start a political movement against the cartel and the Mexican government, and there are no repercussions for this. While yes, Emilia does die later on in the film, it is due to something completely outside of these events. But this represents one of the biggest problems with Emilia Perez. The film seems to try to bring up all these edgy political topics, but never actually tries to explore them, which leaves the narrative feeling incomplete. And when you lay it all out, the political ramblings, the hot button topics, the characters constantly patting themselves on the back, it becomes quite obvious what this film was about. It wasn't made to do anything but win awards. And how do you get awards at the Golden Globes and the Oscars in 2025? Well, you say the right things. You support trans rights, you sympathize with minorities, and you say that women are great. And sure, these are fine things to say if they have any meaning or depth to back it up. But that's precisely what this film lacks. It's just straw man after straw man argument followed by basic politics that get the Hollywood elite to feel good about themselves. Why actually explore these topics in a meaningful way when you can just pretend to do it instead? Look at the list of these topics that they're trying to cover here. You got Mexican cartels, illegal immigration, trans rights, and female empowerment. You could take any one of these ideas and make a movie out of it, but Emilia Perez tries to blend them all together in this horrible cocktail that is as likely to poison you as it is to inform you. If you really boil down the message of this film, it essentially amounts to man bad, woman good. The few male characters that are actually in this movie are depicted as underhanded, ignorant, or thuggish. Even when they put Emilia's character into question, it is shown that all of her negative aspects are from her masculine persona. There's a scene where Emilia is abusing Selena Gomez's character, and she uses a masculine voice and threatens her physically. Do you get it? Do you get the message?
Toxic masculinity.
The fuck is that?
Ironically, despite this movie definitely trying to appease the transgender community, as well as other minorities, it turns out these groups didn't like the movie. Transgender activists apparently didn't like being associated with someone who would abandon their children after transitioning, only to then lie and manipulate their family and abuse their spouse. It's honestly hilarious to me that this movie tries to spread these very progressive and forward-thinking ideas while creating a horrible protagonist that is completely irredeemable. Emilia is depicted as being a sympathetic character throughout the film, especially after her transition. Yet she is constantly abusing the most innocent characters in the story. On top of that, the film never creates a proper redemption for her past actions as a drug kingpin. When Emilia begins her charity to help the people of Mexico, she is taking credit for finding the bodies of victims she helped create. Emilia takes undeserving credit under false pretenses because nobody knows who she really is. That brings us to Rita, who is supposedly the main character of the story. The movie begins with Rita, and it is through her that we experience the first third of the film, but she is essentially dropped as a character afterwards. Sure, in the beginning of the story, we see that Rita is a struggling lawyer who wants to get out of Mexico, and after she helps Emilia, she gets everything she wants. Both her want and need as a character are fulfilled. After the time skip, though, Rita is awkwardly forced back into the plot without a solid reason or purpose to be there. She helps Emilia get her family back to Mexico, even though Rita already has millions of dollars and has been living happily in Europe for years. There is no real reason for Rita to get more involved with Emilia at this point, Besides, that's what the writers wanted to happen. After this return to Mexico, however, Rita does nothing to move the plot forward. She essentially becomes a background character in her own story. Emilia is the one who starts the charity and the political movement in Mexico. We see that Rita is present for these events, but she never actually does anything herself besides stand beside Emilia. Her only accomplishment after the first act of the movie is this.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
So we have Emilia, someone that we're supposed to feel sympathetic for, yet she never actually earns the audience's respect or forgiveness, and we have a main character that does nothing after the first 40 minutes of the film. They are supported by side characters that lack any real development and are only put into the story to add drama or sympathy for Emilia. Fuck, the movie even lacks a central antagonist. Sure, as we covered before, we have Selena Gomez's boyfriend Gustavo, but his only real crime is trying to save the woman he loves from an egomaniacal drug kingpin. I mean, if you reconsider the entire premise of the movie, Gustavo could actually be the hero of the story. From his perspective, Emilia is just some deranged cousin of his lover's ex-husband. Someone who is not only trying to stop Gustavo and Selena from being together, but who has also taken away all of Selena's money, as well as threatening to take away her children. In reality, Gustavo has a lot of reasons to try to save Selena from Emilia. Wait, is Emilia the villain of the story?
You're quasi-evil. You're semi-evil. You're the margarine of evil.
The point is that the plot lacks any natural structure, pacing, or development. Essentially, the movie just boils down to being a story of complete vanity. Emilia Perez creates all the problems herself. Everything is about her and what she wants, and every other character is just reacting to whatever that happens to be. While failing on every level to tell a good story, the film also tends to beat the audience over the head with a stick of moral superiority. For example, there is a scene where Rita is in Israel trying to get a doctor to perform the sex change operation for Emilia. While she's consulting him about the operation, the surgeon gets a little hesitant about the whole idea. The scene then turns into yet another awful song where Rita essentially has to guilt trip the surgeon into it. Yeah, this guy's a real scumbag for not wanting to fly across the world to perform a sex change operation on a cartel boss. This involves the doctor not only risking his own life, but also breaking international laws by helping Emilia smuggle into the US and to help her change her identity. It is seriously difficult to comprehend the idea that Rita is somehow taking the moral high ground here, when she is a corrupt lawyer working for a mass murderer. She quite literally begins to sing about changing society, when again, she's working for a drug dealer who threatened her own life just a scene prior.
Changing society changes the soul. Changing the soul changes society. Changing society changes it all.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
The horrible nature of this song brings us to yet another problem: the music.
Way of knowing
He's singing.
which direction we are going.
I am not joking when I say that I have seen more musical prowess in a high school talent show than I did when watching Emilia Perez. Now, some of the songs are worse than others, but none of them are good. Every song falls flat in vocals and tone. The lyrics are cheesy at best, and the performances are, well, you can just see for yourself.
Ringoplasty, control ringoplasty,
What is that?
Adam's apple reduction.
Yes, 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 yes.
Flat. It's so flat. I don't even know. You don't even look good while you're singing. The worst thing I've ever heard.
You think that a Hollywood musical would star some actors who can actually sing, but I guess the director thought it would be a better idea to torture the audience instead with this crap. Now, after doing some investigation into the creators of this movie, it's pretty easy to see why the music sounds like a cat being heated up in the microwave. This is from a Netflix article. Quote, "Notably, the French composer and singer wrote all of the songs not in their native tongue, but rather in Spanish, consulting with Mexican-born interpreter on cultural matters. I love languages," Camille says. I would write some ideas in French and translate them, but very quickly in the process, I would think and sing in Spanish to see how it sounded. And while traditional Mexican music was an important influence throughout, Camille and Decol drew from a wide spectrum of styles to pen tracks spanning from pop to hip-hop, and every genre in between. It mixes all genres, Decol says. We didn't want to focus on one musical style or do a neo-Mexican musical. Well, there you have it. Right there in black and white for everyone to see. They wrote the songs in French and had them translated afterwards, while quickly trying to go over it in Spanish. They also tried to mix genres and avoided creating a Mexican musical, despite the film being in Mexico. It's not difficult to point out that this makes the viewing experience pretty jarring because there is no consistency or natural evolution in the tone. It's also pretty apparent that the translations from French to Spanish also didn't go over too well. It's clear to me that if you write a song in one language, it will sound very different in another. This was very obvious when the actors were singing in English.
Mammoplasty,
Yes.
vaginoplasty,
Yes.
rhinoplasty,
Yes.
laryngoplasty.
Yes.
Rhyming yes with yes, genius. Now, Selena Gomez is in this movie, so like me, you would probably assume that she might be the saving grace of the musical aspect of this film. No, in this movie, she can sing as well as she can speak Spanish.
¿Es cierto que nos va a sacar del país?
¿Mande?
Are we going back to the United States?
Now, earlier in this review, I said that Emilia Perez is the worst movie I had ever seen. And I may have been understating. It would be more accurate to say that this movie is cinematic cancer. Emilia Perez is horrible in a way that makes it irredeemable. It's dark, depressing, obnoxious, ignorant, ironic, and overall just sad to watch. In the end of the story, Emilia dies along with Selena Gomez and her boyfriend. One of the film's composers was quoted as saying, "I thought this was genius. This is Shakespeare. I love the story. It's operatic. It's larger than life." Ah yes, everyone dies in the end. It must be Shakespeare.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Emilia Perez has been nominated for 13 Academy Awards at the Oscars this year, making it the second highest Oscar-nominated film of all time. Yes, that's more nominations than Pulp Fiction, There Will Be Blood, Shawshank Redemption, The Godfather, Schindler's List, Goodfellas, The Shining, Interstellar, The Silence of the Lambs, Gladiator, The Departed, The Prestige, and Inglourious Basterds. Not to mention other musicals such as Beauty and the Beast, Grease, Les Miserables, and The fucking Lion King. And what does that leave us with? Are we really supposed to believe that this is better than this? Are we supposed to believe that any fucking film in the top 100 of IMDb is somehow worse than Emilia Perez? These films were made with heart, skill, and the type of dedication and love for film that the creators of Emilia Perez couldn't even dream of. But that's not what the Oscars are about anymore, are they? No, now it's about checking particular boxes. It's more about saying the correct things instead of actually creating anything of substance. As long as you appear to believe and support the right things, then you'll be praised to hell and back by fanatical clapping seals that know more about designer footwear than they do about morality. And how did we get to this? Well, in 2024, the Oscars implemented new guidelines that films must follow to even be considered for an Academy Award. Here they are. At least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors must be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. At least 30% of all actors in secondary and minor roles must be from at least 2 underrepresented groups. The main storyline, theme, or narrative of the film must be centered around an underrepresented group. At least 2 of the creative leadership positions and department heads must be from an underrepresented group. At least 6 other crew and technical positions must be from underrepresented racial or ethnic groups. The distribution or financing company must have paid apprenticeship or internship for underrepresented groups. So now we can see what the rules have led to. They led to movies like Emilia Perez. A film that fails on every level of quality, that spits in the very face of art itself. Yet, however, it does check all the boxes. It supposedly represents the right groups. However, as I have pointed out before in this review, that despite this movie being about Mexico, It failed to include the country in its production. None of the main cast are from Mexico, and 2 of the main characters aren't even native Spanish speakers. The composers refused to use Mexican-style music in their songs. The film was shot entirely in France and not in Mexico, and the director didn't research Mexico before creating the movie. You don't need a liberal arts degree to point out that all of this bullshit Hollywood inclusivity is about as shallow as a backyard kiddie pool. Sure, the Hollywood elites can talk big about representation and standing up for minorities, yet when it actually comes down to fulfilling that promise, they look about as culturally sensitive as Bugs Bunny was in the 1960s. It's all so clear now, isn't it? All these years of celebrities talking down to people, acting high and mighty over audiences. After all the lectures and the self-aggrandizing, it all meant nothing. And sure, that was obvious to most of us, but now they can't even pretend to hide it. Celebrities are falling over themselves praising a movie that knows nothing about the culture or the people it represents. It conveys absolutely zero meaning to anyone or anything. But hey, that's why this little award show is finally dying. It turns out that if you praise yourselves enough for bullshit accomplishments and fake gestures, then people will stop watching. More than 44 million people watched the Oscars in 2014. However, in 2024, the viewership dropped to 19.5 million. And after this year, I can't imagine the numbers going back up. The more they blindly celebrate artistic crimes like Emilia Perez, while ignoring fantastic movies like Dune 2, then the meaning behind the Academy Awards will die along with their poor ratings. Why take stock in something that no longer represents cinema? So let's give ourselves an award this year by not watching the Oscars. Go watch some actually good films like Nosferatu, or Dune, or fucking Wicked. It'd be more worth your time. Well, that was a lot, wasn't it? If you made it this far, then I thank you for watching. And you won't be surprised to know that this is the part of the video where I get on my hands and knees and beg you for that sweet, sweet like and subscribe. Oh yeah, it tastes like dopamine and the approval I couldn't get from my parents.
Baila que baila mi amor, tengo la grande